Hey guys and girls, welcome back to another exciting episode of All About You. In today's segment, I will be going over what it takes to become a top player. How do you get your skill level from being a casual all the way to the mindset of a champion? So as you guys know, ladies and gentlemen, I have currently the highest amount of major wins in this card game. And it's through putting in a lot of work. Not only this, but I have the most finals appearances with a ridiculous amount of top cuts. When you play any card game, or when you have a hobby that you really enjoy, or maybe something that you may want to turn into a career, it gets you more motivated. It allows you to stay in the game, focus on what you need to really pay attention to, and allows you to just improve. I'm not a genius when it comes to card games. I'm good. I'm naturally good. I naturally get the idea of how things get, like how decks are supposed to be created, what makes a strategy strong, what makes a strategy weak. I have a lot of inside information naturally. But it's not like I just sleeve up a deck, go to a tournament without test playing, and then win or perform very highly, like making it into the finals. No, guys, I'm not that good. What I normally do is I'm always in the lab for the most part. There are times I take breaks, but for the most part, I'm dedicating myself to this game. Now, guys and girls, one of the major important factors in becoming a champion or becoming very good at this game is confidence. Pat O'Neill actually touched up on this subject recently, like I would say about a month to a month and a half ago in a Patreon video. He showcased myself, I believe Richard Zapp, Jose, Ryan Severin, and Danny Hype. If I'm not mistaken, those were the players that he mentioned, and it was like from a five-headed dragon from Yu-Gi-Oh! And he gave a trait to each one of us of something that stood out from all our characters. And as you guys may have guessed, my perspective or perception was essentially confidence. But not just confidence, but as anyone could pretty much say, overconfidence, cocky, being very dominant in the match before it even starts. So like, giving you an example, when I go to a tournament, especially when I'm on my A game, not when I'm like down and out like the last tournament I was in, I have like a lot of energy flaring out. You know, think of it like Dragon Ball, right? So we're talking about the card game, we might as well use references. It's like immediately you can sense my energy. My energy is just flaring up. And the reason that is because I make it apparent that I'm here, and essentially, you know, if we're putting the cocky aspect into play, I'm the shit. You know, like I'm here, I'm gonna dominate. Who's gonna be in the finals with me? And I'll say it. There were plenty of tournaments where I would either write it, I would like, you know, write it on my status or write it in a group status and or say it in person. There were multiple occasions that I have done that. And what that does is that it may seem overconfident at first, which it is in a sense. But what it's actually doing is similar to what Pat O'Neill said. I'm already putting my mind as if I won the event. I'm already putting myself as a champion. So when it comes down to actually playing my games, I'm playing opponents as if the games were already won. I'm just making the best play lines I can, and I'm seizing any opportunities based off of my opponent's misplays. And that's one thing, is when you have this energy, it kind of messes up with other opponents' play styles. And that's something that Pat is correct about. It kind of creates a game where they stop playing to win, because in my mind, I already won. So they start to play to not lose. And that is correct. When you're playing to try to not lose versus when I'm already playing to win, because in my mind, I already won, we're playing two different games. My opponent might end up going very defensive and start putting less pressure on me because they're afraid that I'm going to get them in the crackback. My opponent may stop going up the chain if, let's say, they're playing, let's say, a Green Broly BR deck because they're afraid that I'm just going to remove their guys and put pressure right back on them. There's so many scenarios that I can give, especially with the newer cards that came out in set 7. But ultimately, it just comes down to that confidence factor. If you guys haven't heard in way long ago videos, the Justin Wong factor, when Street Fighter was like really popping and dominant in like the whole FTCG, it was just incredible, you know? It was incredible because in the fighting game community, we had a situation where Justin Wong was like the most dominant player. There were other very good, talented players, but no one was able to do it like Justin Wong during that period of time. They even called it the Wong factor, which simply meant that if you were playing against Justin Wong, you will end up getting nervous, you will end up dropping combos, a lot of factors would kick in, and Justin Wong would beat you, not because he's necessarily better than you, it's because all the pressure just was reversed right to you. So now you, as the opponent, you're thinking, oh my God, I'm playing this great player, how am I gonna beat him? While in his mind, he's just trying to beat you. You see, there's a difference in the approach of the match, just from the beginning of the game. So like I said, it's like I power up and I show my skill level. So even if my opponent could have been just as good as me, even if they were, there is already a skill cap based off of the energy that I'm giving out, you know, and I can go more in depth in that. I probably will do that for a Patreon video so I can actually give you guys like direct information on how you trigger that in order to become better at the game, in the sense where you're almost forcing your opponent to make misplays. Now, in one of my recent tournaments, someone called me a Jedi mind trick, which is something I touched up on like a few videos ago. And I found it funny because they basically said Anthony psyched this player so bad that he ended up going with the wrong play. Meanwhile, he had game, or meanwhile, he had a very good play that he could have made to put himself in the advantage. But he didn't go with that play. He went with the more reckless play because I fed into, oh my God, I have game. So I fed into that mentality from that player, and I told him basically to go for game so I could check him, and he lost. And that was the scenario. I basically was like, well, if you have this, you got it. And he ended up revealing it, and I was like, well, I'm just gonna wait until you finish it. And so then he went through the play, and then I countered him, and I won the game. And he fell right into my trap. Essentially, he fell into the play line, and it was over, you know? And that is a combination of confidence, and it's a combination of paying attention to the game state so that you can identify what could actually beat you, and you can kind of manipulate your opponent to do the complete opposite. If I already know your best play line based on the current circumstance, I can direct you to another play line so that you wouldn't do the correct one. And then because you don't know my hand, you wouldn't be able to decipher whether or not I am tricking you. Because there are times that I actually do switch it up, and I do put you in the right line of play. And if you feel like, oh man, he's just trying to get me to make this play, he probably has a negate or he probably has an answer, and all of a sudden you don't do it, which I did that to one of my opponents. His name is Sam. You guys may know him as the most recent Open Regional. Very good kid, very good player. And when we played in the AC event, I actually told him, oh man, like if you have this, you got it. And he looked at me and he didn't go for it because he thought I was baiting him with a Mutaito. He had the height and mastery play and could have went into victory strike, but he was so afraid of Mutaito. And I didn't have it. I didn't have the answer. So I forced him to not make the play that would have landed him the W. But because Sam is an intelligent player, I tricked him into not doing it. When I play a player that is, I won't want to say of lesser skill level, but at the end of the day, that's what I pretty much mean. When I'm playing an opponent that I feel that is not ready for me, I will always misguide them. And it's easier to fool those players versus the more experienced players. The more experienced players, I have to finesse and twist things in order to set their mind into a way where it will allow me to win the game. Which again, it's going based off of me. In my mind, I already won the game. In your mind, you're playing to not lose. And that's the difference between both players before the game even starts, which is something that I will talk about in a later video or perhaps a Patreon video. But guys and girls, the best way that you can get better at the game and basically turn your casual mindset to a more professional mindset is making sure that, one, you understand the game. And I mean understand. Understanding the game means understanding how to combo properly, understanding the format, the meta, what's being played, how assembling your sideboard correctly, or at least close to perfect, because no one's perfect, but close to the best that you possibly can have it. And of course, your play lines, understanding your deck, knowing your deck inside and out, and knowing what it can do against other matchups, and knowing that you can bully certain matchups depending on how you play. All these things and much more take into account when you are playing the game. So guys, that's one thing you need to learn. The second thing is confidence. Believe you can win. Believe it. And I don't mean say it in your mind. I don't mean, wait until you're there and just play. I don't mean just practicing in the card game. I mean all mental. It has to be in your mind. In your mind, you need to tell yourself, I won this event. I got this. I'm winning. There's no way I'm losing. I'm winning. And believe it or not, you can manifest those thoughts into reality, because now your mind is pretty much in sync with your goals and your desire. And all that means is that now you're more focused on the game. I'm not worried about losing. I'm not nervous about losing. I'm not worried. I'm just figuring out how am I going to win each and every game so that I can make that mind, that thought, a reality. But guys and girls, these are some tips in order to get your game up. Again, I'm not going to give you any specific scenarios because every deck, every set, things will change, but the mindset should not change. You should always have that I'm going to win mentality. Know and do your research on the format. Know how your deck interacts versus various decks. And then, of course, you do not want to lose sight of how you should combo and play the game effectively. You always want to plus out as much as you can while also making sure that you could deal the most damage and make your opponent go minus as much as they can. Plus on your end, minus on their end. The more cards they lose, the better for you. The more cards you gain, the better for you. You see what I mean? You just want to make sure that all around you're winning the game.